enthusiasts. We're going live to talk the daily space weather. I know I've been slacking because, look, super busy. I guess we got disconnected because reasons. While we are near solar maximum right now, we're only about, what, 60 weeks. We're like 60 weeks out of solar maximum, something like that. And so while it is a declining part of the solar cycle, there are still features, namely coronal holes. And of course, we forecasted years ago that we're going to see a big uptick in coronal hole activity, which is exactly what you're seeing now, okay? Because the solar polar fields, they have to migrate or they have to switch polarity or whatever happens. I mean, you have trans-equatorial coronal holes as a necessary part of every solar cycle. So, this is just what happens. It's, it's the way the sun works, right? Every solar cycle features the fields switching, and of course, the solar polar fields are very static at the heliographic poles at solar minimum. That's really what solar minimum is. So, what solar maximum is when we see the most sunspots and the highest 10.7 centimeter radial flux. What solar minimum is when the solar polar fields are fixated at the poles. So we have these coronal holes that just stay there for a solid, 2 or 3 years, and you see very little trans-equatorial coronal hole activity. We only see that throughout the field reversal process. Or you could say it is the field reversal process. But in any case, we'll talk about space weather. And I woke up this morning with some space weather crap. I got an alert from NOAA where NOAA was like, warning, KP5 expected, a G1 class geomagnetic storm. Except there was no geomagnetic storm. I looked at the solar wind and I was like, what? There is definitely no geomagnetic storm going on at the time. So anyway, and I don't think we've had any, but we'll look at all the stats. So we have had a developing sunspot, which is, of course, interesting. And why do I have a hanger with nothing on it? That's pointless. All right. So let me get into my console here so that we can talk about space weather stats. And again, really, there's not a lot going on. It's we have a fast coronal hole high-speed stream buffeting Earth's magnetosphere with high-speed particles. But as is typical of many coronal hole high-speed streams, we have a very low solar wind density during that stream. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And I believe the space weather alerts were triggered by a small shift in the magnetic field Z component. So the BZ, if you look at the top line in the real-time solar wind data, you'll see that's that's the red line on the real-time solar wind. If you leave it in default settings, maybe you can change it. I don't know. Can you change it? But yeah, that's just the vertical component of the magnetic field. So the solar wind space plasma has its own magnetic field. Okay, it in effect is the interplanetary magnetic field is generated by solar plasma. Coronal hole high-speed streams are connected to the sun via magnetic field lines. So, we see an increase in the solar wind density. When a coronal hole high-speed stream strikes the Earth's magnetosphere, we see the density of the solar wind increase. We see more protons per cubic centimeter, a denser gas. It's still very diffuse. It's about 1/4 as much gas as you have at sea level on Earth. So that's the first component we see when we see a coronal hole high-speed stream strike. We see the high-density wave show up, and then we see the density wave drops off, and we see much higher wind speeds. So this is the telltale sign of a coronal hole. Now, sometimes other things happen, like a CME can happen in there, you know, in which case it's, you know, we call that a co-interacting region. But I don't think we have any of that going on right now, but we'll look at the coronagraphs and the filaments and so on. And, you know, we'll get you your Christmas space weather report here, you know, whether or not you can expect to see any aurora and so on. But yeah, that's what the space weather alerts were generated by here. I'll show you the real-time solar wind so I can tell you what I'm talking about. So here's a real-time solar wind. There's the, yeah, so they're pardon the guerrilla style filming of this, but for some reason the videos get views when we make them in portrait mode like this. So anyway, I'm going to turn over a little bit like this. So now look, you see at the moment, let me make this the 3-day instead of the 1-day, so we can show the onset of the coronal hole high-speed stream. All right, so here you can see this density wave. I was watching this. It was very unexciting. It got to about 18 protons per cubic centimeter. There was a little density spike that was a little higher than that. That could have been, you know, that could have been something else. But the point is, density got up to about 15 protons per cubic centimeter. And then you can see right here, we have a low speed, only 400 kilometers a second. That's a very nominal solar wind speed. So you only see the density increase at the front of a coronal hole high-speed stream when it strikes. And then you can see as the speed comes up, this is the solar wind velocity going from 400 to about 650, 700 kilometers a second. Oh no, 665, look out folks, it's almost the number of the beast. 3.5 protons per cubic centimeter. So you see it drops down to 1/6 of the density it was back here, 1/5, something like that. So only about 20% as much gas there, but moving at a much higher speed. So, and this is what we currently have in the mid 600s here, pushing 700 kilometers a second. Just over 700 kilometers per second is the current solar wind velocity there. But the density is not high enough, and the BZ is not strong enough. So what I was initially talking about is this. So remember how I said space plasma has its own magnetic field? That, again, that is the interplanetary magnetic field in this case, because these are connected to the sun. The coronal hole has magnetic field lines that just point out into space. Those are open magnetic field lines. So let's bring up our 195 angstroms. There is the coronal hole. And we're going to show those field lines in a minute. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for leaving a comment there, folks. I did see those comments. I will respond to them momentarily. Please detach. Detach. For some reason, 2 tabs detached. What the heck? Get rid of this. Go away. I have a weird split screen that I did not ask for. Thanks, Opera GX. Oh, what the heck? Now you're like messing up my tabs, dude. This belongs here. All right. Excuse my what the heck? Get rid of this. What is this nonsense? I've got a split screen that I don't want. Thanks, dudes. Go away. Completely away. It refuses. Please deliver me from this nonsense ellipsis. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Nice. Hey, Opera Gaming, whoever came up with this split screen idea is bonkers. This is annoying. Look at this. I'm stuck on a split screen. Is it just with these tabs? At least it's just with those tabs. I've ruined my tabs. Wait, is this the control? Yes, it's gone. Thank you. Now just detach normally. Yes. Now that is proficiency in software. Pardon my sarcasm. All right, so anyway, here's the current state of affairs with the coronal holes. And like I said, the edges of these coronal holes feature magnetic field lines that point all the way out into space and connect to Earth's magnetic field. Now, if you think that's spooky, it's definitely not spooky in any way because the magnetic field is extremely weak. so weak that it can't be measured inside of Earth's magnetosphere. So if you think it's going to kill you or make the continents rapidly shift or make Earth's axis suddenly shift 90 degrees overnight, that's not a thing. And again, the magnetic field from the sun, the interplanetary magnetic field, is super, super weak. I don't know what the multiple is, but it's a lot weaker than Earth's magnetic field, so that you can't measure it directly from inside Earth's magnetic field. This is why we measure the solar wind at Lagrangian point one. Okay? When people call ACE and Discover, the two spacecraft we typically use to measure and observe the solar wind, when people say those are satellites, they are not satellites. They are spacecraft that, I mean, they're orbiting Lagrangian point one, but they're not orbiting Earth. They're 1,000,000 miles away, orbiting Lagrangian point one, not Earth. So they're not satellites of Earth, they're spacecraft. So anyway, just clarifying that about ACE and Discover. Continuing right along here, yeah, so the magnetic field lines, they're pointing right out into space and they're connected to Earth. So let's show those next, since it's super interesting if you're not spooked of space. If you're spooked of space, then it's super annoying and anxiety causing for no good reason. So here is the interplanetary magnetic field diagram in effect. We'll just bring up today. So here's what's going on today to date. This video was live streamed at about 12 noon Universal Time. So there's the magnetic field of the heliosphere. Like I said, you know, you can see these North Pole oriented field lines pointing out into space. They do indeed connect to Earth's magnetosphere. And, you know, solar wind particles are orbiting those magnetic field lines as they fly out into space. You know, this is part of the thermal signature of these things. And without getting all deep into the physics, it's... So anyway, yeah, I see the comments here, Captain Caveman, in layman's terms. I think that was pretty layman's. But if you got other questions, certainly leave them in the comments. Hi, Dawn, and thanks everybody for leaving comments. Am I a scientist? The answer is no. So I considered majoring in cosmology in the mid-1990s, but because of the issues with heliophysics, in that we don't understand what's going on inside the sun, or we could explain the mechanisms behind the solar cycles effectively and predict them. But because we can't, I don't believe cosmology is legit yet because heliophysics. So I've returned to the realm of heliophysics and space weather because there's too much nonsense on YouTube and there's too much crap, fear-mongering garbage about space weather, which you should not be frightened of. You should go out and film the aurora and, you know, be aware that you might get a little more radiation exposure if you're an astronaut or on a polar flight. You know, power grids could be knocked out, especially in fourth and third world countries. And as far as my coffee, yeah, I've had like 1.2 cups. That's just the normal amount. And I haven't done anything physically exhausting yet today. I've only done about a 2-mile snowstorm hike. So that earns breakfast. So anyway, yeah, I'm a pro athlete. You may not be aware of this, but I do a lot of things that I don't do on this YouTube channel. There is some stuff about that on the YouTube channel. And, you know, look for more stuff like that coming because we don't really limit ourselves to space weather because space weather gets boring as hell sometimes. Okay. So like you can't like be all concerned. Oh no, look, we're going to cross a sector boundary in just a day or two. Oh no, get in your bunkers. There's like nothing to be spooked of regarding space weather. Anyway, this is Stereo B, if you're wondering. Stereo B, another spacecraft orbiting another Lagrangian point. Actually, this one's just orbiting this. This is orbiting the sun slightly faster than Earth. So this will eventually catch up and pass Earth, as Stereo A has. Just several months ago, Stereo A was actually too close to Earth to be useful, but now it's speeding away as Stereo B is speeding towards Earth. And it gives us a great view of course, space weather action, when there is some. So let's see if there is some by looking at the Huxt forecast. Actually, let's look at cosmic ray flux. And it's still at a 20-year low. There it is. Cosmic ray flux. All the reputable neutron monitors will agree with this, by the way. This one happens to go back to 1965. That's why I like to show this one. So yeah, cosmic ray flux, this is particles from space. It's very much like the solar wind in that it's mostly ionized hydrogen, but these are traveling at even higher speeds because they blast all the way into Earth's atmosphere and create secondary particles, which are what are actually measured with the neutron monitor. And let's move on here. It's beta decay, folks. Anyway, there's one cosmic ray point source in X-ray. That's Cygnus X3. I monitor it. It has come out of its normal sort of more cyclic nature here, just in the past about 5 years, which is interesting. Keep in mind, again, those are X-rays, not particles. So X-rays are electromagnetic radiation, photons, and the solar wind is actually protons, diffuse gas. So anyway, here is the Huxt forecast. Let's hope. There we go. From University Reading. And it doesn't look like any new CMEs are on the way to Earth. So if any new ones have been blasted this way, they're going to be divulged in this video, because if they've happened very recently. The Huxt forecast is quite reliable. And just like NOAA and NASA, this one agrees with us about 80% of the time. Moving on, again, real-time solar wind, there it is. It's not very exciting. And it's because this top line, so let me just reiterate this top line here, this is the BTBZ, all right? So this is a very important line, all right? Because this white line, this is the interplanetary magnetic field measured in nanotesla. So it's currently only 6 nanotesla. This coronal hole high-speed stream is weak. The magnetic field is weak. There it is, 6 nanotesla, measured at Lagrange 1 in space by ACE. It's ACE measuring it in space, not in the magnetosphere, where you can't measure it. Moving right along, this line, this is the phi angle. I'm not even going to try to explain that, because if you don't want to go hard physics, we don't want to talk about this. The density is only 2 protons per cubic centimeter. At sea level, it's like 20 quadrillion protons per cubic centimeter. Here in space, at Lagrange 1, it's only 2 protons per cubic centimeter. So in a cubic centimeter, you only have 2 protons in there. Like, that's really diffuse. But it's moving very fast, 748 kilometers a second. I mean, you want to know what that is in miles per hour? All right. AI just told me that it's 464 miles per hour. What the f? Are you serious? Thanks, Gemini. That is insane. Oh, I put in the wrong thing. I put kph. It's kilometers per second. It's real fast. Miles per hour. km/s converted to miles per hour. There we go. 1.6 million miles per hour. That's the solar wind speed right now. 1.6 million miles per hour. But again, it's very diffuse. It's only 2 protons per cubic centimeter or something like that. So I mean, you can't envision how fast that is. That's way too freaking fast. Anyway, sunspot number is at 110, 111 sunspots, something like that. Not too exciting. Radio flux has come up as the sunspot number has now at 134 solar flux units. Solar flux units, by the way, if you're wondering what those are, physics nerds, it's 10,000 Jansky. And Jansky is a measurement of radio flux density through a vacuum. So while space is not a perfect vacuum, it's close enough that we use that to measure the radio flux. The radio flux was discovered in 1945 or 6 by some Canadians who were messing around with some World War II radio equipment, and they discovered that throughout the solar cycle, the sun emits more radio flux than at solar maximum than at solar minimum. And it turns out it's directly proportional to sunspot number. You want to see how proportional? Okay. Well, since it's a Christmas stream, we're giving out gifts. We're giving out gifts. So check it out. The Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard shows an ongoing graph of this, one right on top of the other, to inform and amuse all of you space weather enthusiasts. And by the way, thanks for being space weather enthusiasts. Space weather ain't going nowhere. Grifters are going somewhere, but space weather ain't going nowhere. So there you go. There's the radio flux. And as you can see here, at the peak of the solar cycle, which it's actually showing a little earlier than we would really, I don't think we really agree that this is solar max. But this is updated enough that it's not smooth. This is sort of the unsmoothed. Please get on the peak. I've turned my mouse sense down. There we go. Oh, come on. It's so annoying. Oh, there we go. So anyway, based on monthly smoothing, I think that is, yeah, that's monthly values. We're showing solar maximum was in August of 2024 at about 216 sunspots there. The radio flux was at about 245.6 solar flux units. And as you can see, that's almost at the exact same time there. August of 2024, from a monthly perspective, was the proper Todd Wilkins, let me address that comment. Todd says, invest in American drone companies in AI. So I'll disagree with that because the AI is the largest bubble in NASDAQ history. And how do I know this? Well, I was a day trader back in 1999, and the NASDAQ crash featured my portfolio up 350%. And it's because you have to know how to understand individual companies. So Todd, I certainly hope you're not licensed to give investment advice because you're bad at it. Making any kind of a sweeping thing like invest in American drone companies in AI, that is terrible investment advice, and nobody watching this video should take it. It's terrible, ridiculous, idiotic advice. You're saying buy a sector in AI. What the hell does that even mean? So if you do have a license to give investment advice, you should not work in that field, because maybe there's an American drone company that's good, but you have to name a specific one if you want to be a stock picker in the first place. So saying just buy a sector based on like where the drones are made and whether they use AI. By the way, AI is the biggest scam in human history. I mean, there's never been a scam like AI. And the reason the NASDAQ is such a bubble is 100% because of AI. All of this AI utopia nonsense that all of these like crypto bros keep claiming is going to be a thing is definitely not a thing. There's no I in the AI. That's like, there's no there, dudes. Bro, there's no there. Maybe you don't understand what that means, but too bad. Like, there's no value in crypto except how much people will pay for it. It's a speculative investment like Dutch tulips. How much is it worth? How much is it worth in the Walking Dead zombie world? How much is your crypto worth? But I digress. The NASDAQ companies are a giant AI bubble, the biggest valuation bubble in history. bigger than the NASDAQ bubble of the late 1990s. So look up pets.com. Like, if you don't understand how a company that consists of nothing can evaporate overnight and have their stock price go from $1,000 a share to zero, like, go back to 1999, because this is what you got. You got a bunch of companies giving you a bunch of nonsensical promises about their AI, everything. Look at our community post, by the way. We put out a great video about Elon Musk's nonsense, about his phony claims about robots, his phony AI, his fully self-crashing junkware-driven cars. What? These pioneers in AI, they can't make a bug-free smartphone app. Show me one. I defy you to do it. You can't. So anyway, let's get back to space weather, because the state of software fucking sucks. That's right. It is a bubble full of shit. Full of shit. Just like tech CEOs. All the big tech CEOs are full of shit. They're automating stuff that could have been automated for a decade. That's not AI. Solving a Rubik's Cube with a robot is not AI. There's no I in the AI. The only thing artificial is the belief that these systems are intelligent. It's just more shitty code on top of more shitty code. Are you kidding me? A large language model is as intelligent as a dog's ass, only it's more full of shit. Next! For our next slide, we'll look at the locations of planets. These probably don't piss you off like software, but they might frighten you because people believe in astrology. Where these things are located does not directly affect your freaking stock price, your crop yields, your romantic life, unless you believe it does. Oh, look out, Saturn and Neptune are doing a thing. They're in a conjunctive opposition of inferior, superior, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Everybody who talks about, who's like, oh no, Saturn and Neptune are going to kill us this time. They're going to gobble us up like Pac-Man. Shut up. Stop telling people that planets are controlling their fate. It's a crock of shit. It's as dumb as crystals have crazy powers. We can disprove that in a weekend with a couple hundred people. All right. So yeah, as far as NOAA's forecasts for space weather, we ain't got none. There ain't no forecast for space weather. It's looking pretty chill out there. I mean, I've seen thumbnails about, oh, there's going to be Christmas space weather. But I don't know what from, because I don't see anything happening. The proton flux is flatlined. There is a little bit of additional flaring here. Oh, wow, a C-class event. A C8. That's not newsworthy. All right, what do we have here? Again, thanks for leaving comments, everybody who has. If you're watching in syndication, please leave a comment, because we do see all comments, and some of them are very helpful, interesting, witty, funny, and angry. Sometimes they're angry because I don't like Ben Davidson and Stefan Burns. So when I put videos and I name them directly, people watch them and watch them and watch them, and then boost us in the in the algo by leaving angry comments and arguing all day about it and making fools of themselves because they don't understand junior high physics and things like that. And I love it. It's hilarious. So anyway, that's what's going on with the heliosphere in terms of magnetism. Here is I'll show you those field lines directly. Here's our line of sight coronal hole plot. It's really like, oh, look, another thing that's definitely not going to kill you or cause an earthquake or be correlated with an earthquake, for fuck's sake. Hey, Stefan Burns and Ben Davidson, you two are Muppets, and I'd like to slap your heads together. It would be fun. Never believe a fake athlete when a real athlete says they're a fake athlete. Here's what's going on with sunspots. This is, let's just bring up today and not include yesterday. Yesterday, you've been left out. Now, as far as tomorrow, tomorrow is when Elon Musk's next AI functioning thing is going to be a thing. You should see the tests on Grok. Ask Grok to hold up a piece, show a person holding up a piece of paper that says today's time and date. I don't think that works. Large language models, they're real intelligent. They're as intelligent as the investors who believe these investment fraudsters and buy their stock. What a joke. All right, so yeah, there's what's going on. These don't look too exciting to me. I mean, oh, not bad. All right. Yeah, we do have some action there. We actually have a significant possibility of large solar flares. So hopefully there are some filaments to go with these, because check it out. Those are pretty sweet. These ones right here, those areas right there are flare producing regions. So that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. If you get strong activity, you could still have space weather for maybe Christmas, maybe probably the day after Christmas. But you never know. You get a high speed thing. These sunspots don't look like they're developing too much, at least so far today. But there is definitely a lot of magnetic shear right in this area right here. It looks like a V on its side. That area right there is V for victory for space weather. Yes, yes. So we do have filaments. Some of these are definitely name-worthy. There's a great view in hydrogen alpha. Ah, it's so good. You've got access to so much data, folks. It's so great because, I mean, look, you can forecast your weather. Forecasting your weather is so easy. Like, we barely ever talk about weather. Again, forecasting weather is too easy. Like, you can be a Sherpa if you just understand junior high physics and how weather instruments work. I mean, everybody should know how to drive a car and forecast their weather in the US. Everybody. All right, I'm going to get to your comments here in a minute. Again, solar filaments. And yes, I see your comments. And lol, I may have to laugh at you directly, especially if you talk about investment fraud. If you are an investment fraud, I will call you out. If you're a science fraud, I will call you out. If you're a fraud, I will call you out. So don't be a fraud in the comments. So yeah, check out this filament. This is a good one. You could name that one after your friends or your foes right on Twitter. Just follow the hashtag name that filament. Name that filament. America's favorite pastime, naming solar filaments after living people. No fictional characters, no dead celebrities, no historical figures, no Greek gods. You can't name this the Zeus filament. You can't name this the Odin filament. For all you Norsemen out there. So yeah, that's what's going on. Lots of plasma filaments here. So exciting stuff. We could have space weather if you wanted a Christmas present. And happy winter, by the way. I don't think we've made a live stream since then. Congratulations on surviving the first approximately 2 days of winter is when this video was streamed. We're just about an hour, 1 day and 20 hours into winter when this came out. And I lost track of the number of bike rides already. I've done like 4 bike rides, one of them a group ride. So yeah, there's what's going on in terms of the electron flux. And we do have high electron flux here. So expect bad GPS performance, especially around the equator at noon, as you do, because of, that's a measurement of electrons in the F flare right there. That's the F flare. And if you're getting space weather from somebody who's effed, they probably don't know what the F flare is. Continuing right along, we're going to show the ionosphere. Oh, yes, there it is. There's the good old ionosphere, as measured by Australian Bureau Meteorology. It's a good time. The ionosphere, folks. This is the anomalygram, and you can see lots of high-frequency anomalies. Lots of high-frequency anomalies there. Does it affect the Schumann resonance? No. You know why it doesn't affect the Schumann resonance? Because it's in space. The Schumann resonance occurs in Earth's neutral atmosphere because it's bouncing off of the D layer. So let's go back to here. The Schumann resonance happens inside here, where Earth's atmosphere is neutral. That's why the Schumann resonances aren't space weather, which is why we typically don't talk about them on the show. You see, those measurements we just talked about, they're up here in the F region. That's about, 250 kilometers of altitude in the daytime. The D region is way down here at like 80 kilometers of altitude. You see? Because those radio signals, they're hitting this portion of the ionosphere. They're sort of turning on these particles, and then they're sort of oh yeah, that's the firmament, of course. The firmament is diffuse ionized gas. Gotcha. Schumann resonances bounce off of this, and then they're re-emitted. And because of the distance between the D region and the lithosphere, literally the ground, that's what causes the Schumann resonances to be resonant. Because the Earth has certain frequencies, as it does, between the lowest layer of its ionosphere and its surface. So every planet that has a magnetosphere is going to have its own set of resonances, but you wouldn't call them the Schumann resonances, because the ones on Jupiter or Saturn or other planets that have both a surface and, an ionosphere are going to have some sort of radio signal and other electromagnetic radiation resonances that bounce around underneath their ionospheres. So anyway, this is the ionosphere. This is showing you the vibrational frequency of the F layer. And that's where all those particles are located, which is what we're talking about here. Now, this is actually pulse. This is pulse flux units. So this is actually measuring voltage here. I'm sorry, it's mega electron volts. So this is 1.72 million volts. So anyway, that's what's going on in the ionosphere. It's yet another thing that's not going to kill you and definitely does not prove that Earth is flat. All right, so let me get to these comments here because there are a number of them. And I don't want to get too far behind because then they'll be outdated. So let's just switch to Earth weather here briefly. We're going to show this lovely animation of your home world. I love it. It's so good. Look at that. There's the sunrise. And let me just get to these lovely comments. Oh, I see there are some great ones here. Thanks for joining us, all non-globe believers. Way to stick it to the man by claiming that thing right there, and yes, those are photographs of it, is a shape other than the shape depicted by this obvious shadow. And I mean, wow, look at the CGI, right? All right, so what do we have here? Yeah, how much coffee I had, that was my last comment. That was 1.2 cups. This is my regular self. This is not me amped. Let's just say I put out a lot of watts. And if you ever rode a bike with me up a hill, you would know and probably be horrified, because what happens when we go uphill is, do you really want to find out? All right, anyway, if you want to get smoked on a climb, come join me, and you will get lit up. You will get lit up like a MIG welder. Yes, a MIG welder. Invest in American drone company. Oh, wait, that was the last comment that I took. Minna Win says, what the hell does that even mean? It's garble. They want to say the bubble's poop. The bubble is the poop. It's a poop-filled bubble because the wizards in tech can't make an OS. They can't make an app that functions, but they're going to make utopia with their AI, which there is no I in the AI. It's a complete fraud. Artificial intelligence, you would have to have intelligence for it to be artificial intelligence. So just stop calling it AI. Like that's the solution. Stop. That's the solution. Stop saying we have AI solutions. We use AI to optimize your business. Blah 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 blah. Like you're just discounting your credibility by saying AI. It's trash. Trashware. They can't make a functional smartphone app. Like what the hell? All right. Yes, headbands are very good for performance. Yes, yes. If you're an athlete who does things in the cold, headbands, headbands. Mercury in retrograde. Gotta dump my dog shit coin. Yeah, exactly. That is the thing that Stefan Burns said on Twitter. Stefan Burns told people on Twitter, oh, watch out, or something about crypto. I wouldn't buy crypto now. Crypto's going to crash because Mercury's in retrograde or some shite like that. Wow. I mean, geez, like we get bad investment advice in our comments, but not as bad as Stefan Burns or Ben Davidson's investment advice. Buy shitty real estate on an upland tundra in Colorado that's massively marked up next to our cult compound. Great idea. All right. Oh yeah. Space is not real. It's all CGI. Did you ever let me I'm gonna respond to that illegal link B7T. Space is not real. It's CGI. Did you ever go out at nighttime on a clear? Did you ever see a clear sky at night? You can see like point up there, the moon. Sometimes at noontime you see a thing up there called the sun. And then there are planets too that like move differently than the stars do. You know about those things, right? They're all in space, like Earth. Hopefully I broke on for you. All right. Hopefully people will make fun because you deserve it. And let's look at some more weather stuff. Here is the, oh my God, Florida's got dry air, folks. No, dry air. My voice is coming back in full effect. So my rants are just going to get better and better. Anyway, that's what's going on. We got a bunch of snow here in PA. I went out and did like a little hike, and I got hammered with snow. It's still snowing now. I love it. Wasn't expecting it. Didn't have gloves on. I just stuck my hands down my pants. I know you want to as well. So, but you don't get to. So sorry. Anyway, there's the water vapor map for the U.S. And it's yeah, we got some dry air moving over Lake Huron here. Oh my God. Oh wait, that's Superior. Gee, look at this, folks. Here's one to get in your bunker over. Look, this is colored as like orange on the map, which means death. It's creeping death. Watch out, folks. There are more protons here. Ooh, look at protons moving across Lake Superior. It is actually doing a thing though, by the way. It'll be increasing the winds. Don't believe me? Well, then you don't understand how weather works, but let's just show you that I'm correct. As you can see, the winds are heavier on the west side of the lake. Isn't that amazing? Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? And the answer is anybody who understands basic physics. Because if you understand basic physics and what these maps mean, you too, even Bono can forecast his own weather. So anyway, we have another atmospheric river event going on over here, and it's pretty berserk. And by the way, look at the way you get this perspective. You see the way it looks like it's flattened out? That's because the satellite is kind of over the east. This is the east satellite. So for all you space is not real dudes, that's why the perspective looks shifted over here. Because the perspective is shifted because the satellite is like more directly over somewhere like here. where it'll look very flat. You see that? It looks just like a map, but it's distorted if you look way over to the west. Cuba's got some dry air. Anyway, that's what's going on. This is moisture here, and it's moving out pretty rapidly. Let's show some more stuff. There's a map for no reason because I looked up a place at one point. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. And of course, that atmospheric river, when it mixes with cold air, is going to bring precipitation. So cold air is what causes tornadoes. Cold air is what causes sudden squall lines to form. Cold air is sort of the catalyst in most weather events, ultimately, as it causes us to reach dew point. Cold air, yes. Because, folks, weather is a function of not just the temperature, but also the pressure and the humidity. Those three things, they're like a formula. They are a formula. If you have two, you can figure out the... Anyway, that's relative humidity, relative humidity. We don't look at real humidity because it's humidity relative to its role in the atmosphere. So anyway, here's pressure. And you can see a massive anticyclone here in between Bermuda and North Carolina, which is sort of acting like a barrier because this is where the pressure is very high. As you'll see on the pressure map, over 1,000 hectopascals, 1,030 hectopascals. And that's sort of causing this air to be funneled up here, sort of to its north. That's just sort of how weather works. And let's take a look at your, we'll show you some Christmas forecasts here for snow to let you know if you'll be having a white Christmas. Total positive snow depth change for 72 hours, hopefully, and indeed, it is available. So here's a 72-hour forecast from tropicaltidbits.com. We are not paid to say it. They're just good at their job. Follow the dude on Twitter. So there's the snow for the next 3 days. And we ain't getting none in Pennsylvania. Anyway, let's close out this video with some nullschool.net stuff. We'll be monitoring space weather, by the way, because it's pretty good. It's not bad. Like, there's a significant possibility of some legit stuff. By the way, here's the forecast for Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, if you wanted to know. Yeah, rain and snow before 3 p.m. and a slight chance of rain between 3 and 4. High near 38. It feels like spring out there, as we already had a freeze. We often get a December deep freeze here in Pennsylvania, and we certainly got one this year. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Here is nullschool.net. We're going to take nullschool.net just to show you. Let's show you flat Earth, folks. Are you ready? Are you ready? Flat Earth, it's coming. I'm gonna show it. I swear to God. Wait for it. It's worth it. Here's the US. For all you US viewers out there, all you savages in the US, make sure you leave a comment. Tell your friends and foes about the channel by pressing the share button while I find the projection. Watch this. Boom! Oh no! Earth's flat! The firmament! The devil made this map! That's a thing. This is fraud. The ice wall goes around the firmament, connects the dome to the thing where the dragons leap, where the dragons be. Don't sail off the edge, bro. Oh my God, look, it's flat. I told you. Did you not know Earth is croissant-shaped? Let me just show you the real shape of the planet before I continue on with this. And by the way, there are links in the description. To the Red Bubble Shop, where you too can learn the real shape of the planet and stop believing NASA's lies. Why do you believe NASA's lies? Or these flat Earth frauds who are trying to cash in and make you believe that the Earth is shaped differently than it really is? Like, what the hell, man? Everybody knows that Earth is not flat nor an oblate spheroid. So let's just, I'm going to be nice. By the way, get normal eyebrows if you still have painted on eyebrows. Get normal ones. And welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, where we give good fashion advice, like button your awesome flannel so that people know how awesome it is. Anyway, when will you stop believing NASA's lies? Do you not know that Earth is croissant shaped? I mean, get real, folks. Get real. Stop lying. Stop believing this nonsense about spherical Earth or the flat Earth, the firmament. I mean, come on. Get serious. Don't be a bunch of dumb fucks. And check the merch. I mean, all right, I think we may have resumed the stream here. What? Oh, man. Look at this. This is freaking bonkers. So basically, we're only. Yeah. All right, watch. What? I can. Hold on. I can fix this. Look, I'm gonna. All right, here I come. I'm coming back. Here I am. Wait. There we go. All right. Yeah. All right, here we go. So yeah, I'll close out the stream here. Something happened on YouTube there, and wow. I wasn't expected to be able to do that. That's pretty funny. So yeah, we'll close things out here. I'll I'll cover the rest of your comments and close out this stream. I can't believe that. Oh my gosh. Let me get a little bigger. There we go. I think that's right. All right. So yeah. Anyway, um, let me put your comments over here where it's a little bit more convenient. Pop out that chat, folks. Pop out that chat. All right. So what else do we have here? If anybody wants to leave comments here on the live stream, leave them because we were able to resume the stream, which is hilarious. All right, let me see here. Neil Vaughn 7632 says San Antonio, Texas is farther from Dallas than space, which is defined as 240 miles into the sky. Why is space always positioned as if it's miles and miles away? Because it's miles and miles away. Illegal Link B7T says the world is flat. Plain Eddie Bravo said it. Well, if Eddie Bravo says it, I mean, Eddie Bravo definitely knows jack shit about science. I mean, who am I to refute Eddie Bravo's understanding of basic physics, optics? I mean, he could measure it himself by going to the equator at noon on the equinox and then, you know, going somewhere else the next year at noon on the equinox and measuring the difference in angle. Never mind. Just look into it. How do we go to moon with radiation belt? We go through the radiation belt. And nowadays we would use shielding. So there'd be absorbing, reflecting, and refracting material in the spacecraft, possibly even in the suits. And that's how you would go through the radiation belt, through it. You get in the radiation shielded room, which we have radiation shielded rooms in the International Space Station because of things like proton events. So there's that. Yeah, just look into it. I've looked into it for decades. Space ain't real. He's a glober. He's a globe earther. Wow, we had an all-star cast in this stream. That's pretty good. Why fisheye lens on that? The satellite does not have a fisheye lens. Next. Somebody laughed about Bono. I can see why. Bono is kind of funny. Illegal Link B17 says basic physics doesn't exist. Oh, okay. Yeah, basic physics doesn't exist. So all of mankind's inventions are just magic. They're all magic, right? One plus one can't equal two because if you add one drop to another, it becomes a bigger drop. Wow, you are definitely an elementary school student. Do not pass junior high. Do not collect any dollars. I learned it at North Korea. North Korea University, exactly. All right, what else do we have? None for Chicago. Yeah, I guess no snow for Chicago. I didn't check. Yeah, there's no fisheye lens. The satellites do not have a fisheye lens. Period. You're looking at an image from tens of thousands of miles away from Earth. That the GOES satellite is at like 23,000 miles of altitude. 23,000 miles. That's about where the GOES orbit is located. It's a very circular orbit. It can stay there with very little use of fuel. That's why the GOES satellites stay in orbit for decades at a time and are awesome and show us photographs of the planet. Now, let's talk again about the shape of the planet, since people still don't seem to understand how the damn planet's shaped. So, let's stop this nonsense and get real. If you're not aware that Earth is croissant-shaped, then you should probably hit the Redbubble shop and check it out. When will you stop believing NASA's lies? Everybody knows the fucking Earth is croissant-shaped. So don't be such a freaking idiot and, like, get with the program, folks. Get with the damn program, you son of a piece of... How dare you refute my knowledge about the shape of the planet? Everybody knows that it's croissant-shaped. You idiots! How can you people be so foolish? I mean, look, it's clear that Earth's croissant-shaped. I mean, look at this image above my head. There it is. Yeah, we sent our own rocket up to space, which is real, by the way, only to discover that Earth is shaped like a French breakfast pastry. So, yeah, I mean, them's facts. Sorry if it made you mad, but them's facts. So enjoy. All right. Give me 2 years private one-on-one with you and I'll show you with evidence it's flat. I'll pass. All right, anyway, our stream abruptly ended, so we decided to restart it using OBS, and sure enough, it did work. So that's amazing. I mean, I wasn't even aware that I could do such a thing, but hey, hope you enjoyed the stream. It was always interesting. And yeah, we had an all-star cast. Hopefully you'll leave a comment if you viewed in syndication. Press the share button. Press subscribe if you're new to the channel. We'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network. Please post the name of news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash on Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network. And if I don't see you until then, Happy Christmas.